So Christmas is right around the corner, and if you're watching this, odds are you're a geek. And that means odds are a lot of your friends are geeks. And the thing about us geeks is, we can be notoriously hard to shop for. Part of that is, if there's something we're really geeky about, generally speaking, when we have the money and we can afford it, if there's something we want, we buy it. And that means that the only stuff people could get us is the stuff that's too expensive to afford or budget. And, you don't want to break the bank when you're shopping for your buddies. So what do? Well, I'm going to give you a few ideas that I think might help you in your search for a good Christmas present for your friends or your loved ones that are kind of geeky like you. Some stuff that'll be a little outside the box that won't break the bank too much, because you don't want to just rush out on Black Friday or the week before Christmas or something. Go to the mall or go to Target and get them the same crap that anybody, don't get them just another Funko Pop or something like that. For heaven's sakes, no. Think a little outside the box. Come on. Your friends, your loved ones, they deserve better, don't they? So, something you may not have thought about, because for some reason a lot of geeks haven't really thought about this, and it's a shame, is a Hallmark ornament. Now that might sound a little sappy and all, but if you're not aware, Hallmark has some really, really great pop culture nerd type ornaments and has for decades now. In fact, I remember back in '96, I got a really bitchin' Spider-Man ornament where he's got a web line in each hand that has a little hook that hooks onto a different branch. There's tons of great superhero ornaments. There's tons of great just pop culture things, Star Trek, Star Wars, things of that nature. In fact, this year there's even some Nintendo ones. There's a Mario and a Yoshi. I think there's a Luigi, but I know there's a Mario and a Yoshi. I don't know. I'm personally hoping Santa brings me one of them. But there's some great ornaments. Oh, and this year there's a Deadpool ornament, of all things, that barely appropriate for your Christmas tree, but there it is. So, Hallmark is a surprisingly good place to shop for a geek, and a lot of geeks don't seem to be quite aware of it. Another good thing, let's say you were a child, or your friend was a child of the 90s, or maybe you were, and you're looking for something for yourself. I don't know. I don't judge here. But if you were a fan of Power Rangers growing up, Boom Studios has a couple of really great Power Ranger comics. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Go-Go Power Rangers, which are both available in trade paperbacks, which reprint whole story arcs. And there was a Justice League crossover, which I think will be available in trade paperback in time for the holidays. Not 100% on that. Something to look for. Also, if your friend is a fan of old retro games, then they should look out for, or you should look out, I should say. I can't talk. Archie Comics used to publish both Sonic and Mega Man comics, and did a crossover between the two. So you could maybe check out the big trade of Sonic Mega Man Worlds Collide. That would be a good read. Anybody who is a fan of either of those franchises, especially if they were a fan of both, would get a real kick out of that. It's written very much in a way to appeal not just to fans of the comic, but just fans of the game. Speaking of video game comics, the Mario comics that were published in the old Nintendo Power recently got reprinted. A Mario fan might not be aware of that, might not have it. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. I don't know. We're all about gender equality here at the Backlog Show, but might not know about that. Also, a Zelda comic that was published in Nintendo Power. Same company reprinted that. The comic based off A Link to the Past. And you can find this on Amazon pretty cheap, but there's an old Valiant Comics used to make Mario comics based off the old cartoon mostly, back in the late 80s, early 90s. They did a Best of Mario hardcover, which is only last I saw on Amazon, it's between 20 and 30 bucks for a hardcover. It's not bad. That could be something that would be interesting to get a Mario fan. Something, that's obviously not in stores now. Also, with Zelda, there's plenty of Zelda mangas out based on the various games. Those are good things to get fans of the old games. Any of that stuff, again, if they're fans of the game, they might not have checked these things out, and they would probably get a kick out of it. If, like me, they are a geek who also happens to be a Christian, a couple of interesting things. There's something called the Brick Bible, which is Bible stories told in Legos, little panels of pictures of models of Legos telling the different stories of the Bible. It's an interesting little thing. I got it for Christmas a couple years ago. I thought it was really cool. Also, there is I think it's a King James Bible, but there's like a Bible on Game Boy you could get for the original Game Boy if, somebody is a Christian and also a retro game fan. I don't think it's too expensive, but I could be wrong. Retro game prices are sometimes all over the place, but the Game Boy games usually stay pretty low. Now, also, for those retro game fans, you could get the complete NES guide by Pat the NES Punk, this big hardcover book, which is a guide to all, I think something like over 800 games that were published on the NES between 85 to 95. Really great book. I got it a couple years ago. I even had Pat sign it at a con. I think it's like $60, but it is a really big, thick hardcover. Any old Nintendo fan would love to have this. And again, unless they follow Pat the NES Punk on YouTube, there's a good chance they never heard of it. Now, maybe you have a friend that's a big Doctor Who fan.
Paging Dr. Faggot! Dr. Faggot!
Or a big Star Trek The Next Generation fan. This is an interesting little thing. It's a comic book crossover of the two franchises, Doctor Who and Star Trek The Next Generation. It's not available in trade paperback, but the individual issues are easy to find, like on Mile High or whatever. I kind of recommend it. It was a good read. I'm not even a big Doctor Who guy, but I enjoyed it. Now, I realize I've been giving out a lot of comic book related stuff kind of thing. That's just generally what I know. But I do hope that this might, even if none of these ideas really caught your attention, maybe looking at them steers you in a direction. Maybe it sparks an idea in your head. Point is, be a little outside the box, all right? Don't just get them the same crap from the mall. One last thing I can suggest, and I do want a little disclaimer out here. I'm not getting sponsored by any of these companies, and I'm not getting sponsored by this one either. But on Etsy.com, there's a shop called Nerd Fuel. You can find a lot of great t-shirts, a lot of retro game things on there. I got a Vector Man t-shirt and a Rocket Knight t-shirt off there. There's a lot of cool stuff. I actually did a little bit of shopping for my friends on that site this year. And in general, Etsy is a great place to find some nerd stuff. I've found interesting buttons for people. I found interesting shirts for people. I've found interesting stuff for myself. If they're a retro game fan, you can find a lot of ROM hacks or homebrew games put on carts there. In fact, it's the only real place I know to buy ROM hacks / homebrew games on actual NES or Genesis or Super Nintendo carts. But Etsy's an interesting little place to look for just stuff for your nerd friends. So I don't want to ramble on here too much. This is just a few ideas that will help you shop for your friends a little outside the box, because you don't want to just get them the same crap. And above all, enjoy the time with your friends and your family this holiday season. And yeah, just have a wonderful Merry Christmas from all of us here. Both me and my wonderful animator, Luke, wish you a Merry Christmas. That's all I got for today, folks. Bear Cloth out.